greatest chance of changing the path in which our world is taking slow. It makes sense that the smallest little voice can make the loudest noise. And if they try to tell me my own fate, I'll turn it around, won't hesitate. What's the point of tomorrow if it's a future missing you?
Bring it on, cause I'm just gonna grow up in the battle A. Gonna let the darkness keep on burning my fire. Ain't nobody gonna stop me. I gotta stop this nightmare, because I'm dreaming of my future. Past, future, present, it's the world that we live in. I ain't scared of my past, because tomorrow keeps approaching fast. I'm screaming out from my pride.
Now I need you to wipe away your tears. The time has come to face your fears. To know
I'm never falling down, I'll keep on sailing. Now this is my destiny.
defy the world to make you smile. If it keeps you around a while, don't go.
I gotta shake off the pain for you and me. May our failures all rest in peace.
We'll strike back.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to CCS. We have a great game for you today. We are starting off this summer split with our first week of games. My name is Soren. Joined with me today is Elsa. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm very excited to be here for the first week of the CCS summer split. We're riding on in, ready to lasso some awesome matchups here on the stream, just to be as cringe as possible. But I'm excited to see these two teams with ZMG Frost coming in as a new team in the CCS. And then, of course, Hard Hat Zone, thought of as one of the strongest teams in CCS Wednesday last split, only falling to DNX in the Wednesday finals. So I know they have big expectations for themselves. They know that they could have done better than they kind of finished the last split. So I think they're coming back hungry for more. And I'm excited to see what they can do here coming out of the gates, as the bans have all concluded already pretty quick there.
Yeah, they absolutely have, and really just a mix of different champions being pulled out of the pool. We have Renata, who's one of the best supports, and I was actually just going to say, besides Seraphine, who's a great flex into both mid and support as well. So losing Renata, big hit. Gangplank up on top. Aurelia, Tom Kench, all top laners. Warwick in the jungle. So a weird host, or not weird, but a mixed bag of bands going through. But what are your thoughts here going into it? Looks like we're have a little bit of a flex over on the side of Hard Hat Zone, because Seraphine, like I said, can go support and mid, and Lilia, well, it's a little bit more of a niche pick up on top, can go top or in the jungle.
Yeah, definitely a lot of flexibility coming out so far, and Seraphine, a lot of people considering to be the strongest champion in the game right now, especially in competitive play, just so broken with the scaling and the healing and shielding that she can provide along with the CC, and actually also being flexed a lot to the bot lane role, kind of in that carry position a lot right now as well, just because of the safety it provides. But over here for CMG Frost, we are seeing a Kled locked in blind pick. So talking about flexibility, Kled is typically a champion that we, pretty much only see in the top lane. Does sometimes come into the mid lane when we see some like Doin B tech going on. So a little bit of possibility for flex there, but that is a pretty I would say that's quite a bold blind pick here coming out from ZMG Frost, even if it does have a little bit of flexibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we had a little conversation about top lane, because I think we were talking about Bennett, the top laner for Hard Hat Zone. Don't want to say the weakest, but technically the lowest rank on the team, but has proven in the past to punch well above their weight, taking out some very top class top laners in this competition in the last split. So possibly handing them the ability to counter pick so early might be a little bit of a detriment to them.
Yeah, it definitely could. And just, looking at this solo queue play from these players, whole other idea from ZMG does have a Kled game just a couple of days ago on the account. Doesn't look like a hugely played champion for them, but has has definitely been picked up, but Amumu getting taken now, really interesting to see that one coming through here again. Even more flexibility. Amumu, traditionally sort of this jungle champion, and then around the end of the season, sort of Worlds time last split, we saw some of these changes to Amumu with the extra being able to stack multiple queues at the same time, coming into the support role. So seeing that one, it looks like could definitely be a support pick for Hard Hat Zone. Dragon Mooncake, who's their support, loves playing those CC sort of picks. Definitely feels a lot more in his wheelhouse than something like a Seraphine. And we do see as well, he has 30 games of Amumu played in solo queue so far this year. But going into these bans, everybody kind of piling in on these mid lane bans here. 3 bans from the mid lane so far. Oriana being taken away from Alternative, as well as the Akali and the Ari being taken away from ZMG Frost in the mid lane there as well. I gotta say, Soren, it's kind of funny to me seeing the Oriana ban, just because I really think of Alternative as more of a player who plays like assassins, these kind of flashy burst sort of champions. So Yone definitely a lot more up there, but we'll see if Hard Hat Zone what they're gonna pick here. If they want to save that counter pick for the mid lane, I anticipate that they will, just because I think this Kled is probably going top. So I'm thinking that Bennett will probably get his pick here for the top lane, and they'll save the last one for Alternative, but maybe not.
Maybe not. Ezreal pickup. Quite interesting. That
Interesting.
is
Well, that could,
almost.
yeah.
I was
Go
gonna say
ahead.
that
Sorry.
almost secures Seraphine is gonna be in that bot lane, because I know Ezreal and Seraphine are pretty good pairing down there, but technically there is still room for that flexibility. So, what are your
Y-
thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was just gonna say, Lilia could also be in the top lane as well. Like that is a possibility, so that could be part of it. Seraphine, still could go into the mid lane. Like they could still flex mid and support here with this last pick, but like I said, doesn't really seem like a similar to Oriana, doesn't really seem like an alternative champion to me. But MF being locked in, I actually think MF is a really, really strong pick right now, providing a lot of damage. And you can see the way that ZMG Frost set this up earlier in their draft with the Jarvan, which provides that zone control that MF loves so much to be able to get the full channeling of the bullet time down. And now for the last pick here for the mid lane for ZMG Frost, it is going to be the Victor. So that is a nice, safe blind pick. Victor, not quite as strong as we've seen it be in other metas, but is still, just providing sort of that safety in the mid lane and that wave clear. And we'll see what Alternative wants to take into that here.
Yeah, absolutely not as strong as we've seen them in the past, but still a very strong pickup here. And I think you said it. We probably are expecting some form of top lane in this situation. There we go. Is going to be the Trundle, pickup for Bennett. And that should basically secure. So we're going to have a Seraphine Ezreal bot lane. Probably,
Yeah,
I'm
so
going to be
Lilia
blanking there.
mid lane possibly is what that kind of tells me here.
Yeah, no, I thought I had all
I
the,
still
the
think that
spots
there's
picked
a
out, and I
world in
realized I
which it's
don't.
Ezreal mid, actually, weirdly enough,
Hmm.
but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, we will see. We're going to
Sorry,
be
I'm getting
getting.
excited. I didn't mean to interrupt you here.
Oh no, absolutely. I am too, because this is a very interesting team composition we have
Yeah,
here.
and I
But
think a lot of people, I think Seraphine is a champion right now just because she can just be so incredibly strong. I hear a lot of complaining about this champion. One thing that I do like that it brings to drafts is this sort of flexibility, and this ability to shuffle things around. With those first 3 picks that were taken by Hard Hat Zone, every single one of them can go into multiple positions. So it just really leaves your opponent guessing, and it doesn't allow them to effectively counter pick whatsoever. And especially on the red side, it's so powerful because, yeah, I mean, looking at this Trundle too, Trundle certainly could go into the top lane, but I do think of it as more of a jungler, which is why I think we will see this laning Lilia. And we are going to go through the client draft here in a moment, so that'll give us a little bit of a better idea. But the players do have until 20 seconds left at on the clock at the end to fully lock in. But for now, it looks like tentatively it will be the Lilia top lane.
yeah, it looks, and like you said, it looks like it is also going to be followed up by the Trundle in the jungle. So
Yeah, I really
I
think it's
do
the
think it.
Ezreal mid angle for some reason. We'll see.
We'll see. Alternative locking in, and there you go. You had it correct. That is going to be the Ezreal mid. What do you think that brings into this matchup, especially going up against such a strong pick in Victor?
Yeah, I mean, I think so Ezreal mid is something that we haven't seen for quite a while. long ago, before Ezreal's W was reworked. We did used to see iterations of AP Ezreal. Riot really didn't like that and sort of nerfed it down time after time, such that it's really irrelevant at this point. I mean, you never know. I'm not going to count it out, but not thinking we're going to see AP Ezreal. But then we saw sort of another wave several seasons later of AD Ezreal mid, and really, honestly, what it does is just sit mid. It clears the wave, and it just sits mid and it clears the wave, and it wants to stay safe, which until it can get later in the game, get the tier all the way stacked up, and transforming that Muramana to be able to get that burst of damage, usually going to be with the Trinity Force as well. So basically, my point is, it just wants to sit mid versus this Victor and just safely farm. Victor shouldn't be able to challenge that because even though Victor does have pretty good range, Ezreal obviously known really for the safe farming. So I'm going to look for alternative to just sit, stay back, and farm the lane until he can stack up that tier and then be dangerous in these later team fights. But we'll just have to see how he plays it out because definitely Alternative is not a player who tends to be, I guess, doesn't tend to take the game slow normally. But Soren, I did have one thing to say to you before we get into this spectator delay here for competitive
Hit me with it.
integrity, and that is, I'm sure, we haven't casted together, so I'm sure you're here listening to my thoughts on these team comps, thinking, wow, this guy, he's got some crazy insight. And I'm
Yeah,
going to tell
man.
you a little secret for casting, and it's that I
Okay.
use a tool and it's called Pro Comps. And I just want to tell you that Pro Comps, it's a first of its kind drafting tool. And it's aimed for competitive and solo queue play, and it allows the user live feedback and analysis on drafting, giving them recommendations on picks, notes on matchups, and analysis on the enemy team's win conditions. And these features allow the user to gain an edge on their opponents and improve their drafting skills. You're going to use code, if you want to get 25% off for 6 months, you can go ahead and use code CCS25. That's CCS25. Plug that one in and you'll get a little discount on us. Pro Comps, it's a really awesome tool, and I hope you check it out. And we are
I
going
will.
to be right back in just a couple minutes. Me and Soren will be here again for week 1 of the CCS. We're so excited to be back here on CCS2. We got ZMG Frost taking on Hard Hat Zone. Don't go away, otherwise you're going to miss the action. We'll see you in a moment.
Alrighty, everyone, we are getting right into the game. Summer Split game number 1. And it looks like we have a pretty standard start here. The teams are lining up in the river, just seeing if there's any invades, but it doesn't look like any are going to be coming out here.
Doesn't look like either team is going to try anything too funny on the level 1 here. And it does look like Colts fan here in the jungle is sitting mid lane. We'll see which side he or they decide to start out on there. Between in this jungle matchup, Jarvan, I feel like has fallen out of the meta a little bit recently as a jungle pick. I think definitely was picked in this team composition for, like I said, kind of the zone control that it provides for the Victor and the MF. But I'm interested to see how it interacts with the Trundle early on in the jungle, because we know that Trundle is really strong early on here, and Llama in particular, a standout player from Hard Hat Zone. So we got the 8-8 ping from Bennett. That's pretty nice. Looking good.
Ooh, that is very fancy. That is a luxury few can afford.
Yeah, I mean, living near the server, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, as we see, like, the junglers are going to start on opposite sides of the map here, and we are going to see the leash coming through from Bennett. I was wondering if he would provide the leash, because it does sort of give away the start from the Trundle. So both junglers should be aware of where the other one's starting. And as we toggle over to the mid lane here, I did want to point out Alternative choosing to take the Ignite summoner spell here. Just pretty greedy choice, I think. Just especially because Ezreal not normally going to get super close into the face of the enemy team, especially later in the game. So going to be a little bit difficult to utilize, but the lane phase is probably, where he's thinking of putting it down. And so that does tell me that Llama will probably be pathing around there soon.
Yeah, and it was actually noticed by the top laner over on the blue side, Hollow. So they will be heavily aware of the pathing of the red side here. But it looks like both are just about to finish up their clear and are about to get ready for Scuttle. And it looks like Trundle actually might be going down to punish this small push coming out. Oh, that's going to be big engage, gets caught up behind the lines, and that's going to be first blood going over to Hard Hat Zone.
And right away here, we just see the utility that this duo from Hard Hat Zone provides. Of course, we always think of a Moo locking down the enemy with CC, but then also Benjamin P here with the Seraphine, also bringing that huge amount of utility. Seraphine, really, really strong champion. Like I talked about, so many people say strongest in the game right now, but it's not because of the damage necessarily she provides. Sure, she definitely has a lot of damage for an enchanter, but it's about that CC, those roots on her empowered E that allow her just to be so dominant in the lane phase, and then also remain safe there as she gets that speed boost. So first blood already going over to Hard Hat Zone, and like I had mentioned earlier, Llama with this strong early game pick, and he's going to keep pushing the base mid lane.
And it looks like it's going to be a pretty big engage, and Trundle might just go for it. They're running out of time, might die to turret. He will didn't. Do so. A little bit greedy, like you said earlier, but Victor will, in fact, get the kill, but it will cost them a flash. But seeing as the turret did all the damage, not too bad of a trade.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just really, really sloppy. Obviously, from Llama coming through, seems like he thought he was going to be able to, grab that bite quicker than he did. But I also want to point out that Alternative not dropping the Ignite there, which definitely would have been the difference maker. That would have been enough damage to at least be able to trade 1-for-1. So gotta continue to criticize that summoner spell choice from the Ezreal, because he definitely was an Ignite range when he eat into Victor's face earlier on. And so not only the kill for just the failure, which is going to set him really far ahead. He TP back to lane with the blasting wand, which is just going to, be so oppressive here early on, but also picking up the blue buff, which allows him to just shove this Ezreal in, which is not where you want to be for Alternative. I think probably he wants to be doing the opposite, shoving this Victor in, forcing him to stay in lane instead of coming into the jungle to harass Llama like he's doing here, setting down vision.
And it's definitely going to cause a little bit of a rift, as mid lane is probably going to be locked down by ZMG for a hot minute, or at least for the vast majority of the early game, which is not what you want to see when you have first Drake up already, and it is going to be the Cloud Drake.
Yep,
Oh,
it is going to be the Cloud Drake and Benjamin P.
yeah, a little bit of a chase down. Meanwhile, mid, it's going to be a huge engage on the Victor, and that should
Nope.
actually result in a kill, but it won't. Just the failure is able to get away, as well as the Seraphine over on bot. So a lot of damage being traded out, but no kills despite the two team fights.
Yeah, Llama coming back mid. I do like that, trying to punish just the failure for not having that flash up, because that is sort of the one boon for them in that game, because they were able to blow the flash. But great gravity well from the Victor, keeps himself alive, just able to walk right out. And meanwhile, there is a cost to that on the bot side with the Dragon Mooncake leaving, but
Ooh,
top lane,
Hollow
they're
Face
just
is going in, and
level 6 for Kled.
oh, that is going to be the ult in response. But going in, but not able to do enough damage in this early level. Meanwhile, over on mid, Alternative is getting really aggressive. The True Shot Barrage does come out, but it does not secure the kill. Jarvan is now in mid lane as well, but with Trundle appearing as well, they are going to have to back away.
Yeah, so this is a really big wave. I will say that Alternative is able to deny the Victor, which is the reason why he went in for such an aggressive trade there and dropped the Ignite down. But Colts fan maybe wanting to save the wave, not going to be able to do so. He's not under threat of dying, but that will hurt the Victor quite a bit in terms of experience. So nice job, though, from just the failure, continuing to have those fancy feet, dodging out on the abilities, using the minions to block out and make sure that Alternative could not land that last additional Q that he needed to get the kill. So down here in the bot lane, though, Seraphine pretty low, no flash, gets rooted.
Oh, and that is going to result in Seraphine going down, though Senna following right behind them. Mumu versus MF.
There's a lot of minions
going right in. The damage is coming out. That W is going to find so much damage. The engage back from Mumu, both are so low. It should be anyone's kill here, but Mumu chasing them down, and that should go into the hands of Dragon Mooncake. But now here comes just
He's got 6. He just got 6. There's so many minions.
Oh, that's huge. That could just be the difference maker, but Seraphine back into the mix. That's a lot of CC coming out. That's a lot of damage from Just the Failure. But Just the Failure is going to have to back up, has less than a quarter of health remaining, and chaos down in the bot lane.
A lot of chaos.
Do believe that is a 2-for-1. I believe so, at least.
Yeah, at the end of the day, well, it's Seraphine died. Yeah, so yeah, 2-for-1 at the end. But also, just Victor did not die, as long as trying to invade here. But Victor did not die, but did have to go all the way walk all the way bot lane, and then had to back, and now is walking back mid as well because the teleport's still on such a long cooldown. What that means is Alternative has been able to sit mid this entire time, up 25 CS and probably about a full level, especially after that other huge wave that was denied. So just the failure here, despite the early kill that he was really gifted from Llama, going to start to fall behind. And speaking of falling behind, the Rift Herald getting cleared as well.
Oh, just about, but who was able to secure it? Not quite sure. The true damage barrage comes out, does some significant damage. Hollow is still up, but only momentarily. Just the Failure tries to come and assist the top laner, but Llama and Alternative are chasing them down. Might be able to do something here, but Just the Failure still, despite going in on 3 or 4 ganks now, has managed to slip away yet again. And that is going to be 2 kills more going in the way of Hard Hat Zone. And you're absolutely right. Alternative may be behind the kills, but in terms of CS and honestly just control of the lane, it is very much Alternative's game right now.
Yeah, well, and after that fight, now he's no longer behind in the kills. Was able to pick up one for himself. Does have the assist as well. But no, you're right. Before that, still before that, he was still ahead. And so these are a lot of the things that really elite players will understand. That kills are not necessarily worth worth as much as you think. Like with that mid lane all in that we saw pushing him out to deny the wave. It's not about necessarily getting the kill. It's about those minions. So good to see that kind of higher level strategy in these games. And you referenced the Dragons earlier, Soren, and we haven't seen any emphasis from either team on the Dragons. 10 minutes in, haven't seen out one picked up, which tends to sort of mean that, it continues to get delayed as Llama does look to start it up here. I think Hard Hat Zone, they probably just want to find a fight around this objective because they're so strong.
Yeah, Alternative does take a bit of a beating there behind the Dragon's Pit, but is able to flash over the wall with their E and able to help secure the Dragon with their team. And that is going to be the Drake going down, Cloud Drake. Specifically, Seraphine being caught out here on their own. Senna and MF are chasing them down, but they do now have the support of their teammates. Bullet Time comes out, does some serious damage, but it's not enough to level the playing field. So that's a huge engage from Amumu. The Ignite comes out. I think MF might just be able to get this unless there is a tower dive. It will not come out, though. And that is going to be yet another going in the way of Hard Hat Zone. They had a little bit of a rough start, a little bit of a misplay over in the mid lane with Llama, but they are retaking control of this game so quickly.
And it's so deceiving how vulnerable Seraphine looks in situations like that when her HP bar is so low, but she has she has ultimate available. Still, she has flash available, doesn't even need to expend it. So still so safe, but able to bait the enemy in. And yeah, I mean, it definitely, after some early hiccups, a little bit of maybe early greed by Hard Hat Zone, it does really look to be going in their way. On the one lane that we haven't really touched on very much at all is here in this top lane. And maybe they're giving us a reason to.
Huge from Kled, though Skarl is gone. Shotgun the only thing out. Here comes the lullaby. Kled is asleep, now very low. It's pretty even in terms of health, but the wave very much into the way of Bennett up on the top. And despite the trading out, it will just go back to, Fountain there.
Yeah, and I mean, this kind of illustrates, Rift Herald's going to be dropped here mid, so.
Ooh, yeah, and that should just about... I was going to say Secure Tower, not quite enough damage, but that is going to put Alternative in an even better position than they already were.
Right, and I mean, it doesn't secure the tower, but it does, they do get it down before turret plating falls, which is what, is really important. They do pick up a couple of plates there on it right away, possibly able to even pick up one more if they can shove this lane in. So that is what they want, and also for Ezreal, opening up this mid lane is going to be so crucial because we don't want him to be locked in lane.
Oh, that's a huge cataclysm from Jarvan, puts Lilia into a rough spot, but and actually followed in response by the Kled ultimate. That should just be enough to get the stun out. Skarl is going to go down here, but Jarvan inbound. Oh no, the Seraphine coming out of the shadows does enough to CC them, and then with Trundle, they just take them out one by one. That's a huge turnaround for Hard Hat Zone up in the top lane.
Yeah, and I actually think that this gank is very, very flawed from Colts fan, just because, there's a lot of anti-synergy between Jarvan and Kled. When the Jarvan comes in and Cataclysms only onto the Lilia, Kled has no way to enter the Cataclysm, other than, he has no way to get into the Cataclysm, and in fact, Kled's ult is stopped by the terrain, so he can't even ult in there either. So I just think that this is a really questionable gank, and we see that sort of the way that it turns out in the end. If they hadn't gone onto the tower, it didn't need to be that bad, but yeah.
Here we are really seeing the damage that Ezreal can do, and it does look like it is going to be the AD Ezreal that you talked about before, doing some serious work on just a failure, forcing them to play a lot more passive than they probably would like, despite them having a lot of early ganks.
And Alternative is just, really knows his strength, bullying around this mid lane here. As again, these top laners are just always fighting. This time Bennett's really far ahead, though. Maybe?
Yeah, and that is in a very bad position. I was just about to say it, but it does not matter as Bennett gets a kill on hand there after getting only 4 assists. But the engage comes out. Seraphine does help to get away, but Seraphine's life might be the cost. No, just barely not, as they are still up. A little bit of CC coming out from the Seraphine, but not enough to stop Misfortune there, and it's going to put some serious pressure on that bot lane turret. Both are very low. Seraphine is as well, though. This could be anyone's kill, but looks like with this minion wave, they might just be able to do enough to secure. I push back, but not quite there. And here we go. Next wave is already coming in. And oh, that's going to be a bullet time to keep them away. Dragon Mooncake is down here now and might be able to make a difference, but they will just clear out the ward that is in that tri-bush area, and they're actually going to look like they're setting up for Drake.
Yeah, it looks like Dragon is going to be spawning up here in just 1 second, and it will be... It looks like, yeah, they are also going to manage to scare Colts fan off of this.
Ooh, didn't really talk about it, but that is actually going to be the mid lane tier 1 turret going down as well. So opening up that mid lane, like you said earlier, very early for Alternative 2 at 15 minutes. So has a lot more free space to roam. Meanwhile, Bennett is going to just about take the top turret, tier 1, and it is going to be the Drake followed up as well. Right now, Hard Hat Zone are in a commanding position here.
Yeah, and you can just see as Dragon Mooncake roams up here how difficult it is for just the failure to even exist in this lane to be able to farm, and Ghost 2 going to be in trouble again.
Ooh.
Happy to trade that cooldown, and, you know, Llama, 2 recent visits to the bot lane, 2 flashes blown, and this Senna is just so squishy to this Ezreal, who can definitely 1v2 against the Jarvan, who, like I said, I had some concerns about this Jarvan. Yes, it brings that sort of utility, but if you can't use it in an optimal fashion, Jarvan just sort of becomes sort of a glorified minion, to be completely honest, which is what he is right now. You know, is level 9, which is in parity with the Trundle, but the amount of damage that Trundle has in comparison is so much more. Jarvan has a little bit of burst damage, but after that's over, he's just going to be looking really lost in these team fights that we'll see coming up in a moment.
Absolutely. And I kind of want to get, as we are heading this like mid to early late game stage, I want to hear your thoughts here, because right now, very commanding position for Hard Hat. We've been talking about that, but what do you see that ZMG Frost need to change? What do they need to get here to start clawing their way back into this into a leading position?
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said with the Jarvan, that does have a lot of utility with the Cataclysm to control space. And this really is sort of a wombo combo composition, and they need to land that. Yeah.
They just got put out so hard. Just a failure. Tries to get away, but the True Shot Barrage will be able to secure an Alternative now 2-0 and 1. A little bit of a slower start, but now just causing havoc around the Rift. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's blame the teams. Bennett can definitely 1v2 this, potentially at least.
Absolutely.
He wants this fight.
He absolutely does, especially as Dragon Mooncake is there to assist. The Lullaby comes out that is going to sleep the Jarvan, and that's a huge amount of damage coming out. The Cataclysm is there. Dragon Mooncake is stuck in as well, but it doesn't matter because Alternative makes their way up and picks off the last 2. Dragon Mooncake, while weak, is able to get away, and that is going to be a 2-0. The bullet time almost enough to remove, Benjamin from the Rift, but not quite. And Alternative. We were talking a little bit in pre-lobby about how Alternative is one of their key players, and you mentioned that you didn't think they were going to go Seraphine mid because it wasn't the kind of player that Alternative, or the champion that Alternative likes to play. And
now you understand.
It's now clear to me. I see the vision. Alternative is now just taking this game in their grasp and is not letting go. They are bullying ZMG right now.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, it is definitely fun to watch, for sure. And I mean, I think for ZMG, you know, first game of this season and also first game of this series, obviously it's a 3-game series. So I think right now, if you're ZMG, you know, sure, you're still focusing on the fact that you're in this game. But I think you should want to start thinking about, you know, what you can adjust going into game 2 in your draft, because there's some things in this draft that I just really don't see working. The Jarvan and the Kled in particular, I'm not super huge on. I think, you know, one thing I'm noticing right now, just sort of looking at the gold, is I can confidently say that Dragon Mooncake on the support Amumu is a much stronger champion right now than Jarvan. He has about 1,000 more gold and definitely does more damage, has a larger amount of CC. Kind of goes to illustrate, I think, why Jarvan is just not that strong in general. So I'm just, you know, we'll see. They could definitely prove me wrong in the next game, but I I'm interested to see the adjustments that they will make moving onto the red side as well. And I mean, for Hard Hat Zone 2, I think that they're so far ahead right now. You know, they're almost 10k gold ahead, so it's pretty much a given that they're going to win this game. But something that I look at with higher level teams is how cleanly can they close this out, because they're not going to get a soul. We'll see, just like that.
Delete it. I didn't even see the health drop. They just disappeared from my screen. That is going to be a big hit as Papa Skips does go down under turret after a 3-man engage. It's now going to be a little bit of a brawl down on the bot lane turret, but it looks like it is all just a ruse to pull the entire team down to this bot lane position, put them in a weaker position as they get ready for this third Drake, and it is going to be the Ocean Drake here, and it is probably just going to get whittled down so quickly. I don't think that ZMG are going to have time to respond.
Yeah, no, Ocean Drake is going to go down. And I mean, it's only 21 minutes into the game. It's not unreasonable for Hard Hat Zone to take another, 5 to 6 minutes to end it. So it does make sense to take that dragon. It does push it to soul point. And I think more importantly than even getting the dragon soul, when you can push it to soul point like that, what it means is that ZMG Frost has no choice but to contest the next dragon. And that just buys you basically another free fight. But,
Some serious damage by Alternative. Yeah, Alternative. I do want to just talk about, because I'm also quite interested to see what adjustments that ZMG are going to do, because we talk a lot about what Hard Hat Zone have done, but I really think that a lot of what's seemingly wrong with ZM actually is going to be a huge engage. The Kled ultimate is going to come out. But actually, there is going to be a flash over the wall from the Ezreal, so they're in a safe position. And now Alternative, despite being 3-man push, is going to start pushing back in hand with Benjamin, as the Seraphine is in a position to do some serious damage. And Alternative flashes over the wall, does some serious damage to Ghost before having the lead. Llama chasing them down will take a turret shot, but at this point in the game, it really does not matter. And we have a brawl in the lower bot side jungle, everyone, as it is a full 10-man just waiting for the skirmish to break out.
Yeah, and a large part of it is actually just the leveling, because Alternative just has more HP than some of these members of Hard Hat Zone that are, 2 levels lower for the MF, 4 levels lower for the Senna. So that's part of why he can just be so aggressive and sort of look really flashy in this situation. There's just very, very little threat there. So as they push into this mid lane,
that is actually going to be a kill. That is going to be Llama going down. The Alternative picks up 2 and still just about at full health despite it, and that might just be a kill on Ghost. That's gonna be a quadra. He's gonna go for it, and that is a pentakill going over to Alternative. We've been praising him all game. I said he had the game in his grasp, and he really did. That is an insane start to the summer split of CCS.
We didn't have to wait long for our first pentakill of CCS summer with Alternative on the Ezreal, but really it actually really just steals the show in the fight from Dragon Mooncake, who flashes in for the 5-person Amumu ultimate, got every single member of ZMG Frost in there doing a huge amount of damage. I would actually love to see the damage charts from that fight in particular, just because I wouldn't be surprised if Dragon Mooncake did just as much as the Ezreal. So to all the supports out there, don't worry, I did notice, you're still validated. To our producer, who's a support main, gotta validate the supports out there.
Gotta give them something, man. They don't get much. They don't get much nowadays.
They're putting in work.
Man, I'm like drawing a blank. I don't know where we go from there, because the game was already pretty much set and sealed. We were talking about it was already like a 10k gold lead. It was basically just relying on Hard Hat to find the win condition, and getting a pentakill and getting all that gold advantage on top of the 10k they already had. It's looking pretty done and dusted here. Yeah,
I mean, the thing is, like, if Hard Hat Zone was like playing like completely optimally, I Alternative would not have gone for the pentakill under turret, because he does end up dying, gives over a 1k gold shutdown to the Senna, so it's kind of like, who really cares that much, I suppose. But they aren't actually able to continue the push off of that. They will be able to shortly here. They're going to secure the Baron and Dragon in just a minute. But you know, as far as the play in general, it's greed for the pentakill. But if you get the pentakill, the rule is that it's legal. It's illegal if you don't get the pentakill. So it's fine.
You're throwing, you're inting, whatever term you want to use if you miss it. But you get it,
no
that's it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All other means are justified. Bennett, away from the Baron pit, is going to put some serious pressure down on the bot lane and will just about push all the way up to a turret, but won't be able to secure it quite yet. All the base turrets are still up, though, so they do still have a little bit of a fortress to defend, but with this Baron buff, the siege is almost surely going to come out here soon. And, Colts fan runs right into Bennett, is able to get away, but this is going to be a 3-man push on the bot side turret. Nope, just 2 as Alternative is sticking around for a second, but we already saw Alternative can flip a team fight single-handedly, especially as we saw moments ago at the Baron pit that he was able to fend off 4 on their own while the rest of their team was able to deal with the Baron themselves.
Yeah, and Ezreal's really good at dishing out that poke around objectives to be able to have that zone control, but they will drop 2 members over just to secure that Ocean Soul, no contest, because ZMG Foss isn't allowed to exit their base. And now the real Baron push can start here. They still do have quite a bit of time left on it. We'll see if they go for a dive, or if they do wait for the tower to get chipped down by the cannon minions for a little bit longer.
Bennett in a little bit of a bad position, but oh no, that might be even worse for Hollow, getting caught out with the lullaby. It's going to be just whittled away by Alternative, and that's going to be the hole that they need to slot in over in the bot lane. That should be Inhibitor as well, and they are firmly in the base. They have the super minion, not super minion, excuse me. They have the Baron buff minions there to work with, and there we go. The siege has begun. Damage going out onto the Nexus turrets. And it's going to be a little bit of engage from Jarvan, but puts himself in a pretty rough position. The Cataclysm is going to come out, but as you mentioned before, the synergy quite not there. It's just going to trap them in their own rough terrain, and that should be it. Nexus turrets down. The Nexus is following suit, and that is going to be game 1 going firmly into the hands of Hard Hat Zone.
Hard Hat Zone, they are going to be able to push into the base and pretty cleanly end this one out. Really not too many stumbling blocks for this team throughout the game after the first, botch dive by Llama into the mid lane, which we did see. But after that, they really control the pace of the game so well from there on. This is the Hard Hat Zone that we know and love. Pretty much the same roster coming back through, just the difference in the bot lane with Benjamin P coming in. But, very fun to see the first pentakill of the split. That's just game 1 of the series, though. So, ZMG Frost, they got to take a deep breath, come back. I just really think that the champions that they selected are a big part of their demise in this game. And I think that we really saw that illustrated more and more as the game went on. I don't want to see, them giving away the Seraphine again, or if they do, they better have a better plan for how they're going to deal with it.
Absolutely. I agree 100%, but we're just going to have to wait and see what their response is as we take a short break before we go into game 2. Don't go anywhere. We still have a lot of action for you after just a short break. All right, everyone. Thank you and welcome back after that short break. We are going into the game two draft here, Hard Hat Zone versus ZMG Frost. And I think it's pretty unanimous between the both of us that ZMG really needs to pull something out of a hat here, because the draft in the last game was a little bit underwhelming, a little bit I'm losing the word, but a little bit contradictory. That's a good word
Yeah,
for it.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
So what do you think? What do they need to bring out here? Because I think we were just about everyone was disappointed with how the draft went in the last game.
Yeah, I mean, what I was sort of getting at, I think, towards the end of the last game, that I didn't even get to because Hard Hat Zone was just ending things so quickly, was that they sort of had this wombo combo draft that's all about, the Jarvan getting in there with the Cataclysm, the MF as the bullet time over that, and then you got the Chaos Storm from the Victor over that. A lot of teams that are less experienced in amateur, I don't know the background of these players, to be fair, so I don't know their experience level necessarily, but they try to go for these comps because they require coordination, and in a team environment you have that coordination. But with that being said, if you don't execute that composition like perfectly right in those moments, it becomes really hard. So I want them to find more priority in the individual lanes so that they can sort of stay in parity or get ahead. But as we see the Seraphine pick already coming through here again, no compromises on that from Hard Hat Zone. They will pick it on either side. And I think that they're probably surprised to see ZMG Frost leaving that one open again. I certainly am, just because of the amount of flexibility it brings to the rest of your team. But we'll see if ZMG Frost has something else in mind.
Yeah, notably, I noticed that they actually went for the Lilia ban, which I thought. I mean, that's not a bad ban because Bennett definitely did cause a lot of chaos on the Lilia, but I definitely agree. I personally believe that taking that Seraphine out of the hands of Benjamin probably would have a bigger impact, but we'll just have to wait and see. So far, pretty standard draft. Talia getting picked up there for Hard Hat Zone, and that's going to be a Zin and a Braum going in the way of ZMG.
Yeah, so I made a noise that in reaction to the Talia coming through, just because I really love watching this champion. It's one of the most exciting champions in the game right now for me. With the CC that she brings and the ability to have that early game capability, both in the mid lane and in the jungle. It's a really strong flex pick. We've seen Dom1 Kia over in LCK flexing this Talia around to the mid and jungle, Canyon doing some creative things with it there. So we'll see if this ends up being for Llama or alternative. But Sona coming through, making it the double enchanter comp as well for Hard Hat Zone, which is just like full what's the word that I can say on stream for this? This is just like the full on like awful to play against team composition so far. With double enchanters so strong in the meta, and then Talia as well, and ZMG Frost responding so far with Jinzhao, Braum, and then Jinx. I mean, I think, you know, Braum is actually really good against Talia. They didn't know they were against Talia yet. It's also good against Seraphine because it can block the ultimate. But Jin Zhao, again, this pick for Colts fan, it seems like it's like just several patches behind sort of what is meta in the jungle. So we'll see those. Jin Zhao definitely, I think, a little stronger than Jarvan for sure.
Also, a little bit notably, they didn't take out the Seraphine, but we are going to see the Lilia, and notably, the Ezreal is going to be taken away as well. Alternative is going to have to find another champion to find a way of bossing the game with here. But as we're looking at the team comps, seeing the final bands coming through, yep, Yone, same as last time. What are we expecting? Because I believe right now it seems like mid and top lane are the two lanes that are being focused on right now. Who
Yeah.
do you have any picks that you're expecting to see that you would like to see with any of these teams so far?
I mean, I think this will be the top lane pick right here after how dominant Alternative was in the last game. I think definitely uh, just the failure is going to want the counter pick advantage there in that matchup. So we'll see what whole other idea decides to go with here. You know, maybe it looks like Ornn was banned out, which would have been a very safe line pick. Renekton is one that he has a good amount of champions on. Jace, or games on Jace as well, and they did not get the pick through there. Shen.
Ooh,
All right, so it looks like it is going to be Shen. That is what they intended to pick. So we'll
okay.
probably just keep rolling forward with the draft here, unless Hard Hat Zones has any objections, but I doubt that's the case. So Shen coming through. So not Ornn has a lot more engage, probably why it was banned out. Just kind of has that team fighting ability. But Shen does offer a lot of ability to keep your Jinx alive, which is probably what this composition is going to be fairly centered around. Seeing it so far, and the Jax being picked up for Hard Hat Zone, going to be the counter pick for Bennett in the top lane, and that's an exciting one to see. Jax just a really aggressive champion. So hopefully another fun top lane matchup to watch with a lot of scrapping back and forth as we wait for Alternative's pick. Or what? Okay, never mind. Oh, all right. So
Oh, hard hat zone. What are you
I
doing to us?
understand. Yeah, so it's going to be the Fiora top lane for sure. Okay, so like that's the
Yeah.
one thing that's absolutely for sure, because again, Shen, it makes a lot of sense. The riposte is really easily to hit against the taunt coming through from Shen. Then I'm assuming it means that it's going to be the Jax in the jungle and Talia to the mid lane, just because Jax could be mid, but Jax jungle makes a little bit more sense to me, especially against Xinjiao, because the weakness of Jax jungle is that it struggles to get through the early game. But against something like Xinjiao that's been nerfed many times, it probably can do that. And later in the game, Jax jungle gets incredibly strong and difficult to deal with. So um, another really creative draft here from Hard Hat Zone, as
Yeah,
ZMG
definitely.
last picks for their mid there as well.
Yeah, definitely very unique picks here. And we have our thoughts. I think you are pretty spot on the money, but we will be seeing here briefly as we are going to actually get into the client and look at where these picks end up. And, you know, I I do think this is a
Eh,
better draft than the last what's called the last draft from the last game for ZMG Frost, but I do agree. Zhao definitely does feel a few patches behind, to say the least. And Hard Hat Zone, very impressive. I'm really interested to see how this team works, because this is the second time, at least personally, I've never seen a Seraphine go as that APC role. So definitely very interesting picks for Hard Hat Zone, but it doesn't seem to deter them at all. They seem very strong, very headstrong on their opinion for this, and can't wait to see if it actually works out. And it looks to be exactly what you said. That is going to be, if you're on the top lane, Jax into the jungle, and almost certainly it's going to be the Talia in the mid lane, which I can't wait to see alternative use, because I feel like that is going to be a very exciting champion for them to play.
Yeah, it definitely will. And thinking about CMG Frost composition here, they do secure a much stronger mid jungle 2v2, which was a large part of the last game. Jarvan and Victor just not really having the ability to press forward and pull the trigger, I guess, on the on objective on sorry on aggressive plays. Jin Zhao and Ari, on the other hand, definitely a lot more ability to roam around the map together, create picks, and start to generate some tempo, generate some gold. But going back, again to this Seraphine pick, which has been prioritized by Hard Hat Zone, what they're really going to look to do again in this lane phase is just stay safe and really neutralize this Jinx as much as possible. They should have a decent amount of poke, especially since, yes, Braum can block out some of it with his shield when that is up. But outside of that is going to be a melee pick. So I expect hold on. Also, we did see some trades, and I was wrong, I guess.
Oh,
Here we see. So I was actually just going to mention, of course I'm saying this now, but I was thinking for a moment too, maybe that this is a bit of a bait, that that everything was still flexible by Hard Hat Zone
yeah.
until they saw the mid lane pick from ZMG Frost, because Ari, again, another champion that can be riposted pretty easily from alternative, which is kind of like one of the critical parts of Fiora's ability to get through a lane phase. Like, is her W actually a useful ability? It is, again, in this case. And then later in the game, Fiora still can do the same thing against Shen, which is move over into a side lane and get that split push done. So again, just super awesome creativity in this draft. Llama gonna be able to push the early game tempo again. He pushed it a little bit too hard. Some limit testing on the Trundle last time. We'll see if he can get it just right here on Talia in this one.
Absolutely. I think we all can't wait to see Hard Hat Zone keeping us on our toes, but we will just have to wait and see how the game turns out. We are going to take a short break for competitive integrity, but once we get into the game, you will see us again, and we are going to get into game 2 of this first week of the CCS Summer Split. Don't go anywhere. So we'll be right back.
So hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the fall, we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies. The champions of the world that we defy. Saw the roar of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last times.
Alrighty, everyone, we are getting right into the action. A little bit of a switch up from game one. We are going to see a 5-man push towards the bot lane, but welcome back. We are going into game 2 of the summer split here at CCS first week, and it is going to be Hard Hat Zone versus ZMG Frost. If you are just now joining us, right now the map count is going to be 1-0 to Hard Hat Zone. So they are looking to close it out. And this is going to be a very, very aggressive invade coming out from Hard Hat Zone, which is actually, or excuse me, not Hard Hat Zone, ZMG, which is going to be spotted by that ward there.
Yep, it is going to be spotted out by Hard Hat Zone, so a nice job by them of remaining safe. And it makes sense, definitely, to at least try this invade at level 1 from ZMG. They don't lose anything other than a little bit of vision traded onto the other side of the jungle, which is not that big of a deal. And with Braum, usually considered to be strongest level 1 champion in the game. Actually, we have the level 1, the only champion at level 1 that their ability can separately stun 5 people, because he can apply his passive to 5 different people, and also Jax, who can stun 5 people at level 1. So really strong level 1 champions, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going on and on. Instead, no action, and also, thankfully, we don't have to hear that sound of the Jinx riding on the train anymore, which was horrible when they were coming out. So,
Small wins.
hallelujah.
Small wins here.
Yeah.
But it does look like it could be a pretty typical setup. Shinzao is going to start over on the bottom side, red buff. Meanwhile, Talia is starting up on the top side, blue buff. And small little engage coming out from Zax, doing some serious damage, but not enough to be of concern this early into the game. But at this point, I think, especially after last game, I think we're expecting that the top laners, Bennett and Hollow, are just going to be going back and forth for most of it.
Yeah, definitely expecting a lot of aggression. I think one of the differences is I think Jax and Shen tend to be a little bit more vulnerable in lane, so we definitely could see more gank action this time onto the top side. Holo does take the ignite here on the Shen, which makes sense because you do have the teleport, or you have the Stand United ultimate eventually to be able to get into fights on other parts of the map. And the Shen does have a lot of power in this lane against the Jax early on in the first few levels. It's once Jax hits level 6, gets one item completed, really waiting for unless he gets it substantially ahead, early on, is going to be waiting for that one item in that level 6. So Holo will have a lot of control here early, and with Llama pathing down towards that bot side, it is going to be Bennett left down here on a little bit of an island. So we see that he is falling behind a little bit in CS. And we'll see if Colts fan would want to go for a dive. Probably that's a little overly aggressive, and nice warding here from the bot lane for ZMG is going to spot out Llama for now, so they'll stay safe.
Yeah, Bennett is going to be left a little bit on their own, but at the same time, I really personally am not all that too worried, because we saw something very similar in the last game. Llama was sitting down on that bot lane, not quite camping it, but had a very large presence for the majority of the game, and Bennett was solid enough to just basically take control of that lane, even without much assistance from their jungler. That may be because Lilia is so mobile that they're able to get away from some more tricky ganks, but we'll just have to see here, as again Bennett is going in and doing some serious damage, as Hollow is now down to half already. But here comes Colts fan. That's going to be a huge engage, double CC'd, jumps out of the way, is ignited, double flash. It is going to cost Colts fan their flash, but that is going to be first blood going into the way of ZMG Frost. And very different start. I wanted to mention that last game was very scary, because not only was it so dominant from Hard Hat Zone, but they only ended up getting 2 kills in that game, I believe, if I remember correctly. And one of them was kind of a gift, Llama overextending and just tower diving at like level 2 or 3. So seeing them get a kill this early on is quite nice, because it's already a pretty substantial improvement early into this game.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was the most concerning. I totally agree, Soren. For me, about ZMG in game 1 is even the things that went well for ZMG were more about what Hard Hat Zone did wrong than what ZMG did right, which is never the place that you want to be. But Bennett here is going to be, this is kind of an annoying situation for the Shen, who's not necessarily under threat of death or anything like that, 1v1 against the Jax, but, oh, hold on.
Oh. That stun
Oh,
might just be enough to get
fun.
away, and it will
Speed
Colts fan.
boosts. It's Sona 1 and Sona 2. We got the two Sonas. Sona 1.0 and Sona 2.0 here. They
I'm not
both
gonna
got the speed
lie.
ups, damage, their ultimates are pretty much the same, except one's a stun and one's a charm, pretty much, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I saw it in the draft, and I was like, "That's gonna be an interesting, bot lane." And then when we actually got into the game, and I first saw them down there doing their thing, I had like a moment of realization of like, "Oh, that's a
Oh,
terrible thing to do to someone." That's gonna be a huge engage. Llama and
Stand
Bennett taking
United.
out Colts fan will not be able to do enough, and
Yeah.
Bennett is actually going to get caught out. That is going to be just a failure, getting a very good opening kill. Alternative just making their way in, going to do a small engage, but is going to be caught out, is going to have to leave because they're in a very bad position. Meanwhile, Ghost and Papa Skips are not in a great position themselves, both pretty weak, and with the CC on hand down in that bot lane, that could just be the death of them, but we have a lot of aggression in this mid. The picks of Fiora and Ari. The last game was really nice. The alternative playing on the Ezreal had a lot of really cool, amazing plays. But seeing both pick up much more aggressive champions, I think is just going to be so entertaining to watch because I feel like we're going to have constant fighting over on that mid lane now.
Right. And, at this level 6 point is really sort of the part of the game that Just the Failure has a pretty big advantage, in my opinion. Not necessarily it's not the 1v1 against the Fiora, but Fiora with, once she's getting her ultimate, what she really wants to do is is these long extended fights which can only really take place in the side lanes, top or bot. That's the reason why we don't really see Fiora mid very often. But she's not looking for the 1v1. She's just looking to eventually get out of this lane phase. And, we do see Alternative with a CS advantage. But if Ari does opt to stay safe, she will always be able to. And the kill that we saw earlier in the jungle, I think was, pretty emblematic of that. It took place in the ZMG jungle, but also we saw the way that Just the Failure was able to rotate there and have the priority over Alternative, who wasn't able to go assist the team. So despite the nice setup from Bennett and Llama, some nice presence of mind from Whole Other Idea to get the Stand United off, and just some nice teamwork from ZMG, who are up 2 kills. It's only about a 300 gold advantage, so nothing huge, but just looking like a much better team, to be honest, in this second game so far.
Absolutely, and it looks like they were getting ready to start this Drake, and it looks like they're still trying to do it. They're going to pull it out of the pit, and there's only Seraphine and Sona there to assist. Llama just making their way, might be able to do something, but they will lose that first Drake. Some serious damage going down on top of Skips, but not enough to get the kill. Everyone will go back to their lanes, and that is going to be first Drake, and I have to agree, this is a much better start to CMG. Like we said before, the 2 kills they got are much more of a matter of what they did right and what they adjusted to correctly, as opposed to what Hard had to wrong. And they picked up the first Drake, which they weren't able to pick up any in the first game. So I still think that it's not won yet, but as opposed to last game, I can already see the drastic improvement. And that's a huge ultimate coming out from Talia, and that is just going to be a stun lock and a whittle down of Papa. Oh, he is just able to get away, but it is going to be the flash, yes, and it will be overwhelmingly into the side of Hard Hat Zone, but no kills going out. But that should give that bot lane a little bit more pressure.
That was really close there in the mid lane because Alternative using the riposte too early, but Just the Failure still not able to land the charm. And down in the bot lane, no kills going over, as you had mentioned, Soren, but it is 3 summoner spells expended for the cost of 0. 2 of them being flash from both of these bot lane members, so that is going to be big. But Alternative here trying to...
Oh, Colts fan getting caught out does have flash. We'll be able to do and get away, but only for so long.
Stand United
but they're in a really bad spot. They're isolated from the rest of their team, but oh no, Alternative, you can't do it to them. Just about gets the kill on Just Failure, but not able to secure it. But Alternative, that puts them 1-0-0. Back on par with Ari and still slightly ahead of gold. Alternative is slowly making their way back into the lead in this mid lane.
Yeah, and it had Bennett managed to cancel the Stand United coming in from the Shen. We saw the shield coming down, but then Shen did not come through, and that's because Jax got the stun off in order to cancel the channel on that one, which is huge because if Shen was able to come through, would have been able to get the CC down onto alternative, and it would have looked the end of that fight would have looked a lot different. But as it stands, it is going to be hard hat zone swinging the lead, still just a couple hundred gold, but it now will be in their advantage. And hard hat zone, this is not a, even though the Talia is strong in the early game, outside of Talia, this is not a composition that is really thinking about being strong in the early game anyways. What they want to get to is a point later in the game where alternative and Bennett can just be in these long side lanes, some kind of 1-3-1 strategy with the split push, because the Shen is not going to be able to answer either the Jax or the Fiora later in the game. They're just going to shred through him, and no one else really will either. So meanwhile, in the mid lane, with the Seraphine and the Sona and the...
Oh, that pushback is going to put Just the Failure in such a bad position, and being caught out by 3, that is going to be a kill into the way, again, of Hard Hat Zone, bringing it back 2-2. Ola is going to be the ultimate from Braum. It will not hit, and Seraphine will be able to get away and will be able to remove this board. Oh.
And we are going to see Llama summoning this Rift Herald up into the mid lane again. That's where they put it last time as well, opening up the map. So just going to grab that turret gold again, sort of starting to accelerate this lead a little bit. Oh, no Shams bot lane.
That is a lot of damage coming out, but again, not quite enough to finish it. And yeah, I'm definitely noticing a trend. They're definitely putting a priority on getting that mid lane turret out of the way and opening up the map. I definitely feel, a lot of teams do like to put it up in the top lane, allow for that side push to come through, but I definitely feel like Hard Hat Zone's status quo is to just take out that mid lane and just be able to split this map in two.
Yeah, and as I had mentioned earlier, Jack's really waiting for an entire item to be done before he really becomes powerful. So they actually do not necessarily want the Rift Herald in the top lane, because if they kill that top lane turret, it means that the wave isn't going to crash back, which is what Jax wants to do. He doesn't want to interact. He wants to just continue farming, probably for like 2 more levels, and then we'll have an item completed. Not sure what he's going for, honestly, exactly here first. Has some interesting components. So it looks like, Blade of the Rune King. Oh, he's going for Blade of the Rune King first, of course. Duh. Why would you go for a mythic item first when the non-mythic items are just broken, I guess? But yeah, no. So once the Blade of the Rune King level 11 comes through, that is when Jax will, really start to be able to push that advantage. But for now, just hanging out.
Ooh. There's going to be a lot of damage out, but Braum jumps into the way with that shield, is able to block most of the damage. And here we go. Second Drake is being prepared for. Most of ZMG is already in position to do so. Alternative and Benjamin are making their way through, but it's going to be too late. That is going to be the second Drake going into the way of ZMG Frost, but it doesn't really matter. Seraphine gets one as the disposition coming out from Talia puts them into a really bad spot, and there we go. Colts fan follows suit, and Braum is getting whittled down slowly. They might be able to do it. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place, but they are able to get away. Just a failure going back on mid just to meet with Benjamin on the Seraphine yet again, who is just clearing this wave slowly.
Yeah, so 1 for Dragon at the end of it all is pretty good. I think for ZMG, they're going to be happy with that one as they continue to stack these ones up. Bennett doing a nice job once again in the top lane. This time he doesn't have to interrupt anything from the Shen, but hold on, Ghost in trouble.
Oh, Ghost in a really bad spot, especially with Talia there cutting off the escape route. Alternative will, not get the kill. That will go into the way of Llama, putting Talia in a little bit better spot, 1-0-2. And it's going pretty good. Hard Hat is definitely taking back control of this game. They are still 2 Drakes down, but again, we still have all the Drakes going up for Soul left in hand, so they could easily turn this around still.
Absolutely. And, as I had mentioned about sort of the way that this team composition wants to play out. We do see that they have cycled alternative down into this bot lane with Benjamin P coming into the mid lane, just because the Seraphine excels at clearing the wave from range, can just be pretty invulnerable back there throwing those ones out, whereas the Fiora wants to be in that long lane. And you'll see that ZMG is going to respond for now by putting just the failure down into that bot lane to match. They know that the Jinx and the Braum probably would just get 1v2'd, or at least 2v2'd once Llama came down there, but
Bennett being caught out 1v2 is just going to get slain. Colts fan is able to pick up the kill and is going to be a 2-man push in bot lane, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and last game, Colts fan. Oh, I'm sorry, Soren. Go ahead.
No, go for it. I finished.
I was just last game, Colts fan. We saw especially highlighted in that top lane, Gankus Jarvan really struggled to take initiative and have synergy with laners to generate some of those ganks and some of those gold leads. But this game looking a lot more comfortable with doing that on the Xin Zhao instead. Coming in, ganking into a multiple lanes so far in this one, and putting this Jax now at 0-3-0, which, for Jax, yes, it's a scaling champion, not the end of the world, but they have accomplished their goal, which is to buy time.
Yeah, absolutely. He definitely is a later game champion, but it's going to take a lot more to get online, and the Spirit Rush comes out, and there's so much. Oh, that's just a movement diff. Oh no, that Spirit Rush just able to completely reposition Ari so many times into that turret. Alternative just could not get their hands on them, and they will die almost exclusively.
Ooh.
The turret damage Llama comes in, that wall puts them in a terrible spot, and Ghost just nowhere to run, has to just get taken out. Hollow tries to get there, but it's a little bit too late.
Yeah, and down in the bot lane, just the failure managing to stay alive against that gank from Alternative. And this is exactly, as I saw it start, the damage coming through on the front end from Alternative is so promising, and this is what I was looking for. But
no,
Bennett again.
Oh, but Bennett is doing some serious damage. Might actually be able to flip this on its head. The CC does come out, though, but that is still so much damage coming out from Bennett. That will be 1 kill. The trade's still going out. He is ignited, so a little bit in a weaker position, but might still be able to do something. That is going to be the mid lane turret down. We are already seeing the priority of taking out that turret early. And Alternative coming back for the revenge. Just a failure is already at half.
There he goes.
There we go.
Yeah.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, though. Not today, as Alternative does get the redemption.
Yeah, I mean, when I say, he got it, is he's just waiting for. I was waiting for the moment that Bennett, that Alternative could finally get the riposte on the Ari Charm, because he had used it early on the last couple of times when trying to anticipate it. Once he can hit that, that's kind of the key to the 1v1 matchup. Even, diving under the turret or whatever, now he's able to get that. He's able to get the turret, and in the top lane for Bennett, checks notes, has Blade of the Rune King completed, checks notes, level 11. Okay, yep, you're cleared to 1v2 the enemy top jungle as Jax. Yep. Your application is accepted. So yeah, I mean, it definitely is. I feel like it's really unexpected for Colts fan and whole other idea when just a moment ago they were able to gank the Jax and, seemingly with no issue, sort of dive him under, finish the kill even under the turret. But he's a whole different beast with those 2 points in the ultimate and that item completed in the Blade of the Rune King. But Dragon Fight is huge here. Soul point for ZMG Frost if they can grab it.
They're looking to flip it, and that is going to be the encore coming out from the Seraphine. Puts Hollow into a bad spot. Red team is going to get the Dragon. That is going to be 3, and it is just a full-on brawl down in the Dragon's pit. Hollow's still alive. Alternative is somehow still alive as well. That is going to be 2 in the way for 1. Bennett does go down. They do manage to secure Drake, though. That might just be worth it. That is going to be Mountain Drake as well, making Braum just a little bit more tanky. And they're 1 away from Soul Point as well. That was really, really critical for Hard Hat Zone to pick up, and they just weren't able to secure it.
Yeah, a definitely nice steal coming through there from Colts fan. These dragons keep ZMG alive in this game, with the scaling. I keep talking about the scaling on the side of Hard Hat Zone and the way that they want to get into these side lanes, but we also have to think about the side laning from Jinx.
Oh
Speaking
no,
of,
Benjamin. That is a lot of damage, and the flash comes over the wall, and Benjamin just has nowhere to run. Ghost is just going to whittle them down slowly. There's nowhere to go, and that is going to be yet another kill in the hands of Ghost. 1, 2, and 1 so far. Honestly, most of the action right now is not going down to the bot laners. Sona right now is running 0, 0, and 6, so I guess you could say there's a pretty high kill participation there for a dragon. But in reality, most of the kills are going into the way of Alternative with 4 and Llama with 3, and then you have on the other side for ZMG, you have just the Failure and Hollow who are getting most of the kills. So surprisingly, bot lane's been pretty quiet. Oh, that's going to be huge coming up from Llama, getting into the action very quickly, but not really able to do much off the back of it. Papa skips, goes down early. That is going to be their tank done and away. Colts fan follows suit. Hollow is running for their life. Nothing left in the tank. Is just going to run away, being chased by Alternative, and it's almost certainly, yep, that is going to be Alternative who's going to pick up the killing spree, and this Baron is going to be flipped pretty early, and that's going to be huge for Hardhat Zone to get a firm lead.
Yeah, and Bennett's still on the turret here in the bottom side, has been there the entire time, did not need to teleport in to assist the team because he just knew that they'd be okay. Turret is almost dead, but he will have to jump out as ZMG has arrived back in, but just, still grabbing more gold for his team is Bennett. As the flash forward here, I think Jax is going to be all right. Still has flash.
Oh, they do.
He doesn't have any mana.
Oh, they don't have mana. That is absolutely correct. They are going to be caught out here, and that is going to be into the way of just Failure.
I think it makes sense for him. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, a little bit unfortunate, but like you said, was able to push all the way to the base turret. So overall, I do think it is pretty worth.
Yeah, I mean, it is unfortunate, like you said, because now Bennett will not have the Baron buff on the minions if he chooses to return to the side lane. So that's a little bit of a bummer. With that being said, doesn't end up expending the flash. I think that's the right move. Probably would have been dead either way, and does want to save it for now, just because the next fight definitely could determine the end of this game, as all of a sudden looking at the gold lead, ZMG keeping it very close, playing very well for the majority of this one, but it is all 6.5 gold ahead for Hardhat Zone. They're marching down this bot lane. They have the Baron minions.
Ooh,
they also have the Herald.
Charm comes out, and Papa Skips is being caught out yet again. Keeps being hit by this double CC bot lane, and it's just tearing them apart. That is going to be Shelly as well, making an appearance post Baron, strangely enough, but it will secure that top base turret. Colts fan gets caught away as well. Just a Failure getting chased all the way into their base. Alternative does so much damage this late into the game and is just mowing them down. That's going to be a double kill. This should be a triple, just about. Will not go for the double pentakill, unfortunately. Does not have that on hand, but a triple will suffice for now.
Yeah, and they are going to continue this relentless push into the base, and that looks like it's just going to be about it.
Yeah, it was a very, very good start for ZMG Frost here, but unfortunately, Hardhat Zone were the favorites coming into this, and they are going to be the favorites leaving this game, as they are going to secure Game 2. They are going to secure their win for the first week of this summer split here at CCS. 1-0 for them so far, and a pretty dominant fashion, I might add.
And it is going to be Hardhat Zone definitely just taking a very, very dominant 2-0 win in this one. Coming back into the CCS very hot. We talked about how, last season they didn't necessarily meet their goals. This time that, they're coming back, trying to make that happen. And this is a really strong showing to their benefit here in the first game.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think we are going to take a quick break here. Thank you for joining us for the game, but don't go anywhere, because I believe after a short break, we are going to have a interview with one of the players on Hardhat Zone, if I remember correctly, but not quite sure on that. Yep, absolutely. So don't go anywhere. We still have some more content for you. And yeah, we will be right back.
the days of the early suns. Through worlds of lost belief, laid waste and buried deep. Summer to be set out to fall. But there's no fear that lives inside this soul. Yeah, inside this world, there is no way back to forgiveness.
All right, everyone. Thank you for sticking around for just a little bit longer. We are joined by Alternative here from Hard Hat Zone. And tell me, it was a great game for you. I believe that's 21 kills and I think 2 or 3 deaths overall. So, post match, what are your thoughts on the game? How do you think you and your team did?
Yeah, I think it went pretty well for us. Probably as good as we could have wanted our first week to go. Yeah, we're really happy with the results.
Yeah, and it was very fun. Definitely a very fun series to watch y'all coming back, sort of doing your thing, definitely looking like that same, 5-person unit that you were last split. I mean, we were just talking about that before we jumped in, coming back with the same roster of 5 players. Some teams, if you don't necessarily meet your goal of, I mean, I guess in Plat, like winning everything, I guess, or winning the league, like some teams might switch up some of their players, but you chose to come back with the same 5. Can you talk a little bit about sort of that decision making and like why it's important for you as a team to stick with these core members?
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're just 5 friends. We love playing with each other. Not that of course we want to win, but um, yeah, that's the main thing. We just kind of wanted to stick together as a team. We didn't really there wasn't any talks to like switch up the roster at all. We just we're our 5 man. If anything changes, that'll be in the future. But there's no talks for that right now.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean that's great to hear, and like definitely I think it shows in the play that that you're out there having fun. And some of the fun for me in this series was definitely some of the flexibility that we saw in your drafting in both of the games, but really especially the second one. With the flexing between like the Fiora and the Jax and the Talia and all that, like when you locked in the Fiora, do you know where all 3 of those champions are going, or is it a conversation about waiting to see what mid picks?
Yeah.
I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, so for that specific instance, yeah, we're kind of trolls. We just like keeping it spicy. We like confusing the casters and the other team on what's going where. But for
Makes
that
sense.
specific moment, when we picked the Jax Fiora, we were waiting for the mid pick to see which one went where. But yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I will say, to my credit, I called the Ezreal mid right away in the first one at the very least. So, 1 out of 2, I guess. But just one more question for you. I want to let you go here, but I mentioned earlier last split, you all were super successful in CCS. Only falling in those Wednesday conference finals. Coming back to CCS this time, unfortunately, DNX is not here in name, at least to get revenge on specifically. But what are your goals for this team now coming into this split and moving forward?
yeah. Last split, it was like a regretful ending. I think I think last split we actually ended undefeated with our starting 5.
Yep.
Right, all of our losses came
You never played
from
DNX with
subs.
the full lineup. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So it's kind of regretful, and we have some, we wish we could run it back with the DNX from last season. But yeah, there's a lot of even though there's a lot of new teams, there's a lot of familiar faces spread out across the teams. So we're definitely looking forward to playing with everyone. I think our support has like multiple teammates on multiple teams because he plays on like 3 teams right now, but he's crazy. But yeah, I hope we do better this time. We're looking for a deep playoffs run again. And yeah, hopefully our schedules let us do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a question. The battle of the schedules. Will they? That's the schedule nerf. They had to nerf you with the schedule thing, otherwise you'd be too powerful. Well, anyways, this has been an interview with Alternative, the mid laner from Hard Hat Zone. Once again, Alternative, thank you so much for joining us for the interview. I feel like you're the official interviewee of Hard Hat Zone. They force you to come every time, so thank you for bearing with us. And I have been Elsa the Queen. I was joined by Soren, who we're super happy to have on the broadcast once again this week. And producing, we got Daddy Zillion. Don't forget Zeta's father here on the keys, on the producing keys, I guess. But for everyone for all of us here, that is going to be it for the CCS2 broadcast for now. I believe that there's still action going on over on CCS1 though, so make sure you go over there and see the conclusion of Dorado Gaming Omega versus CB Rush. Looks like we got a whole game left over there, so head on over. But we will be back tomorrow for the Thursday conference of our Plat League, and then Friday as well for our Diamond. We'll see you next time from CCS. See you later.
So yeah.